But I keep being too caught up by all my demons, lost without the love.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of On the Line Life Stories, where I speak to some incredible individuals who are related to Aston Villa in some manner about their life stories. And today on the show, we've got Aaron, mental health ambassador, such an important role within society nowadays as well. So Aaron, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you, buddy. How are you?
Really good. And of course, Aston Villa season's ended. The Euros are about to start. I just want to get, before we delve into your life story, just your conclusion, your thoughts on Villa season just gone.
Yeah, no problem. So, good season, progressive, made some positive improvements, some positive developments, both on and off the field. Obviously, we're all aware that the owners have come in and really changed things at the club. And I think that's kind of mirrored itself on the pitch as well. You know, we've got better, we're improving. We've still got a young squad and there's still a lot of work to do. But improvements have been there, I think, for all of us to see. A slightly disappointing kind of second third of the season, if you like, kind of post Christmas with that COVID outbreak. It was disappointing to see our performances drop a little bit and results not really go our way. But I think all in all, it's a good season. It's a positive season. It's better than last year, and we're moving forward, game by game. So lovely way to finish it with two big wins against two big clubs. Sets herself up nicely for the summer. Let's get some recruitment going, get a good pre-season under our belts, and I'm looking forward to the start of the season, Liam, for sure.
Yeah, and just analysing your thoughts and what you just said then, you have quite a positive mindset. Is that something you really want to embed within every walk of your life?
Absolutely, yeah, totally. You know, it's difficult always to be positive. You know, some things, life is such that you can be hit really hard by some things, and life isn't easy. It's a tough old road. It's a tough old journey. But if you can make one promise to yourself and one promise to the people around you, that wherever possible you find that, that inch, that moment of positivity and that kind of way of thinking, I think, you set your day up well to start as positive as possible. And I always go about that every day, as best as I can. Despite the struggles that I've been through, despite the struggles that have been around me, positivity is something that we can create ourselves, and we have to be able to find it some way, shape or form. So yeah, positive mindset's key, Liam.
And you can see on social media as well, where people comment on Villa's season and how they feel they progressed. Some people aren't necessarily happy with the finish that we ended up with, because we were aspiring for Europe the first half of the season, and they wanted to finish in the European places, where you look and you have that perspective on things. Villa just avoided relegation and they want a massive jump up. And I was speaking to Dan and I said, there's that famous phrase, be careful what you wish for, and having that positive mindset and really analysing things to the specifics and really seeing how that just by finishing 11th this season, Villa have really progressed. And having that mindset again, that realism, is what can help you to succeed as well.
Yeah, totally. Realism is so important. And I think organically, fan bases tend to forget that at some point. And I think that's not just at Aston Villa, that's across the board, regardless of what club you support, particularly when you've got the backing and the financial clout that we have with the owners. People want everything overnight. And sometimes it's just about taking a step back, assessing the situation, realising that these things take time. Rome wasn't built in a day. And certainly Aston Villa's European aspirations and winning the league won't be built in a day. It's a slow but sure journey forward. I think the problem is, Liam, we have a fan base that remember the good days at Villa. We remember how good we were as a team, European champions. All the best players in the country were playing for Aston Villa at one point, and people want to get back to that. And I understand that. It's a lovely ambition. It's a lovely aspiration to have, but realism is important. And just allowing the process to happen rather than pushing it, because absolutely you're right. What you said to Dan is absolutely right. Be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you can have everything far too soon and then it crash and burn right in front of your eyes. So slowly but surely we will get to where we want to be, for sure. I'm positive of that.
Just delving into your life story for a second, do you gain that mindset? Was that helped by your upbringing with your parents, your family, your guardians, whoever helped you to become the man you are today? Were they an important factor in you having that mindset?
Integral, mate. I think my father, for sure, was a huge role model in my life. Allowed me to take each day as it came, take each moment as it came, embrace every moment that you are able to embrace, and engage where you can engage, and not run before you can walk. Be the best that you can be wherever possible, but don't wish for everything too soon. My dad was a military man. I was a military child, very much grew up in that very disciplined, male-dominated kind of army life. So that was instilled in me from a very early age. High expectations, very few opportunities for failure, for weakness, for showing any signs of not being able to be the best that you can be. I guess a part of that is something I'll explain a little bit later on, I guess, but has been a huge kind of imprint on my life. But yes, parents are crucial to the way that I have gone about my day-to-day life. And I think we all have that in us. We all have that, whether it's our parents, our grandparents, or whoever those role models were in our life. It's evident that people are magnetized to that and are empowered by that kind of upbringing. So for me, that's definitely been present for sure.
And talking specifically about your upbringing, being from a military background and having military personnel within your family, they have to show that strength in order to succeed in whatever task they're doing. They can't necessarily have time to show emotion, show weakness. So did you find that was difficult when you were younger and you had to come to terms with that? Yeah,
so when I was younger, it's a really good question. So when I was younger, and I guess this relates to my kind of mental health struggles in my adolescent life, and adult life. When I was younger, I didn't really appreciate or become aware of that kind of environment that I was living in and those things. It was only later on, as I grew up, became an adult, started my own family, had a sense of maturity about me that those things now impact the things that I do as an adult. But yes, there is a real sense that living in that military environment, it's difficult to show weakness sometimes, and it's difficult to show any vulnerability because you're unraveled in this kind of world of being the strongest, being the best, being the alpha male, and that's very much carried through into my adult life. But I think what I've noticed in my adult life is that doesn't always have to be the way. That doesn't always have to be the life that you lead. And there is always opportunity, and there is always acceptance in being emotional, showing emotions, and being very real and very the word I'm looking for, showing your feelings and showing that things do get tough and you can cry, and that men do need to talk about the things that they are impacted by and the things that they may or may not be struggling with. And I'm a huge advocate of that, as you know, and most of Twitter will know that if men are showing signs that they're unable to speak to people because they feel the stigma and they feel the taboo surrounding that, I try and be there as often as possible for those blokes to reach out to and find that outlet to be able to speak about how we feel, because ultimately every man needs to show emotion, and we're only humans at the end of the day, just like the female generations are as well.
You have a positive mindset now, but going back to your younger years, do you live with regrets at all? Do you live with regrets in regards to your livelihood from a younger age, or do you live with regrets from what you do now? What's your mindset surrounding that?
Yeah, no, never. I've never regretted anything I do. I'm a great believer in trial and error. Life is about learning. I don't ever believe that we lose in life. We either win or we learn. And sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes you can make mistakes, but you learn from them. And I truly believe that the biggest challenges in my life, the toughest times, the errors that I've made, or the mistakes that I've put myself in or put myself through, are where I've most grown, are where I've most developed. That's where I've found the biggest strength and the biggest motivation to move forward, and to not be able to do that again, and to not find myself in that position again, and know that next time something like that happens, I've got the resilience and the understanding of how to deal with it better. So for me, I don't regret anything in my life. Momentarily, there are things where I could have said something different. I might not have said that. I should have said this. I should have done that. But I don't think it goes as far as a regret. I am the man I am today because of the challenges, because of the mistakes that I've made, because of the little low modes, little areas that I've been through that weren't easy and were tough, and they've made me the way I am. So my mindset has always been very positive. It's always been very growth. I'm not a fixed mindset person. You know, I'm always looking for the next big thing. I'm always keeping busy, keeping proactive, always looking to challenge myself, always looking to learn, always looking to grow and develop and become a better person, because tomorrow is a new day, and yesterday's happened. Today is nearly over. So let's look for tomorrow and be better and stronger where we can, you know. So my mindset's never changed. My mindset's always been very proactive, growth. Let's go out there and take on the world. And if shit happens, excuse my French, if shit happens, it does, and we get on with it, you know, because that's life. Life isn't easy. Life is tough. Life is a journey. Life is it's a rocky road, and it's not easy for anybody. It might be easier for some than others, for sure, but it's not an easy thing, and life is about learning. So no regrets ever, mate. Never.
But this whole conversation within a footballing context, football fans can be quite fickle, if that's the right word, in the fact that they want success immediately, and they don't necessarily appreciate the work that goes in behind the scenes for that progression to happen. And when Dean Smith was appointed, fans wanted that success immediately, and it showed that through his tenure at Villa, he's had ups and downs, but he's finally got to the point where he got promotion, and we look like now that we are progressing onto a football club that will return back to its glory days. So that whole conversation, that whole message you portray now, can be put into that footballing context as well.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Bang on. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. You know, you've said exactly that. There is a football is a journey as well, and as a fan base, you know, football is very important to this fan base. You can see that. We know that. It's very evident that Villa fans, more so than a lot of other fan bases, want the best for their club and are very passionate about the club, very passionate about where we're going. It's very easy to point the finger at someone, you know, and that person is Dean Smith because he's the man in charge right now. But for me right now, he is the right man. For me right now, he is the man that's going to move us forward. Whether he's got that next level in him, when we get to that next level, who knows? Dean Smith is learning just as much as we all are. You know, we've been away from the top field for quite some time. It's been a difficult transition. The new owners have come in. Dean Smith is the man to lead that front, and we grow with Dean. The club grows with Dean. You know, it's a difficult thing to say that he needs to go. He's not there yet. How do we know he's not there yet? You know, we haven't got to that level. Let's throw him in that deep end. Let's put him in that deep end with the players, with the things that are going on behind the scenes, with the new owners, with that positive outlook that we will achieve what we want to achieve, bringing in the players that can take us to that next level, and give Dean the ropes to be able to do that. So for me, there's no question about it. You know, Dean Smith, his coaching staff that he's got on board right now, the players that we've got, the players that we intend to bring in, let's go for it. Let's do it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you've got to give people the opportunity and the learning and the challenge to get to that point. So yeah, I think he's the right man for the job, and I'm fully behind him at the moment.
I just want to talk about how you deal with highs in your life, because on this channel a lot I talk about lows and how people pick themselves up from really devastating and tragic moments within their life. But in terms of dealing with high points in your life, points where you've been successful, how do you get yourself on that line where you appreciate the highs but you constantly want more? How do you get that? You have that growth mindset to want more success, and not necessarily get too arrogant.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think arrogance is something that a lot of people struggle with when success is imminent, or when success has happened, or when achievement is there. For me, it's about taking away from those achievements, from those success stories, from those good points, taking aspects away from them to continue to build yourself, but not letting the material thing, whatever it is that you've achieved, get the better of you. You know, we see very often people succeeding and really struggling with that success, or struggling to adapt to living that life of success and that life of achievement. So for me, it's very much a case that I just take what I can from the good things that have happened, because I, as well as a lot of other people, I'm sure, have experienced, you know, real highs in my life, but equally experienced real lows. And I try and find a happy medium between those two things, between those two outlets, as often as possible, because ultimately life has to go on. Not every day is going to be an incredibly good day. Not every day is going to be full of success and full of achievement, full of conquering the world. Because for me, with my mental health issue, I can experience those extreme highs for a week or two, and almost simultaneously crash and burn and find myself in a very, very low mood very, very quickly, without any reason, without any trigger, without any understanding of why that's happened. And it has happened. And so I always try and find a happy medium and a level that I can stay stable on, stay prioritized on, and stay focused on, and just bring those positives from those high moments down to that level to create a better me. Because success isn't long term. It's not often long term. It's not something that you can just stay at and be at forever, because that isn't how it works. But for sure, the successes in my life have allowed me to feel very positive about things, improve my confidence, build me to being the person that I am, but never letting them get too much, and never letting them get the better of me, or letting my feet run away before I can catch up with them.
Yeah, and the one thing you said there, which I picked up on, is the fact that in order to help you stay on that balanced medium, you like to decompose things within your life. I think I'm right in inferring that. And you like to see events that happen and why they're successful, but yet decompose them and live a life where you don't necessarily become too arrogant, yet not too down in the dumps. So the whole mindset of decomposing elements within your life, can you find that exhausting at times?
Yeah, totally, mate. Totally. It's one of the things that I have to work on day to day. It's one thing that over the last 25 years, I've had to really work on managing and understanding better and better, because decompartmentalizing everything is tough. It's hard. It's draining. It's mentally draining. Particularly when, for me, and I'll be truthful here, this is quite deep, but it's quite truthful. I thrive with people. I thrive on people, and I thrive on recognition, and I thrive on knowing my identity and knowing that I'm helping other people make a positive change in their life. And those are highs for me. Those are moments of highs. So a success story for me doesn't always have to be achieving something. A success story can be in the darkest of kind of aspects, saving someone's life by conversation, by talking to them about the positives in their life, and pulling them away from that dark place. That for me is a success story. But if I let that get the better of me every time, I wouldn't be able to deal with those things very well. So it's about taking away things that you can manage and things that you are able to, like you say, decompartmentalize or decomposite, and really make the best of that story, and really allow those elements to stay stable and be real and relative. I think relativity is a key word here. It's one of those things, mate, that everyone deals with differently. I think, nobody deals with keeping on that level the same way. Everybody's got very different techniques, but that's kind of how I would deal with it as best as I can.
You said that within your profession, within your job, you like, and just on Twitter in general, you like to talk to people who are suffering in order to help them to lead on a better pathway. I'm not going to ask you to name specific names or specific conversations, but when you're in that moment and you're trying to help people, and the situation could potentially be serious and life-threatening, can you potentially feel a sense of again, exhaustion, or the fact that you may feel that are you confident all the time in that situation, is what I'm trying to ask and what I try and get across? Do you feel that you're the right person, or do you feel that they need other help, or can you potentially get overwhelmed in those situations?
Yeah, so let me break that down. So does it affect me momentarily? No. Does it affect me long term? Very possibly. And it has done several times in my career. So if I could describe to you myself, I see myself as a bit of a bucket, working in the field that I work in, and having my own mental health issues and living with those for a number of years. I describe myself a bit of a bucket. And when each person I speak to and help and point in the right direction, or absorb their information and absorb their struggles to try and find an answer for them, not always a solution, but an answer or a positive pathway to something better, I just fill my bucket up with a little bit more water, a little bit more fluid, a little bit more of something. And eventually that bucket starts to get to the point where it's looking like it's going to overfill. Now, I don't always recognize that that bucket's going to overfill. And one day it could just overflow and spill everywhere. And that's when it affects me. So momentarily, person to person, I am confident in my own ability, with my own experiences, my own profession, my own qualifications, my own experience, that I can help someone. I'm not always the right person. I'm not always the right person for someone, but I will damnedest try my best to be that right person for someone, because there's not, on the grand scheme of things, you see a lot of this, oh, reach out to me, I'm here for you. But actually, 80% of the time, people aren't there for you, because ultimately there's that next level, and there's that next step that you need to be able to be, and that next step that you need to be able to do to be the right person for someone to reach out to. So I feel confident that I could be that person, and I am that person for a number of people, stranger or friends, doesn't matter. So yes, there's the first answer. I feel confident in my own ability, but there is a point sometimes where my bucket overspills, and I have to deal with my own issues and my own crazy hectic build-up of all of those things to look after me as well as everybody else. And what was the last bit, Liam, you talked about?
I was just essentially just saying, do you sometimes get overwhelmed by the severity of those situations?
Yeah. So there is that. Yes, not every situation is easy to deal with, but I think there's a hell of a lot of value in relevance and shared understanding. So I've been in a place where I wasn't very happy. I've been in a place where everything seemed quite dark. There wasn't a lot of hope. There wasn't a lot of opportunity. There wasn't a lot of anything really. In the lowest point of my life, depression really, really hit me hard. And I guess understanding what it felt like to be in that place, but having the professional expertise to listen to someone else tell me about the place that they're in and how relevant and how similar that is to where I was. It can trigger sometimes. It can be a situation where it hits a nerve, and there's a lot of like, oh God, I remember how it felt to be like that. But there are a lot of pros as well to feeling that way, and I think they outweigh the negatives, and I think they outweigh the overwhelmingness. There are little snapshots of feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but I think everything else kind of overrides it, and my desire and my passion and my love to want to help other people kind of shines through.
And sometimes in life, I sit back, especially during situations that we find ourselves in today, where we're in lockdown and we've been locked down for quite a long while. We haven't necessarily been able to socialize fully. I sit back and I think about the big picture, the big questions that we constantly ask ourselves and other people, but we may not necessarily be able to go fully deep into them and explore those topics because we're scared to open up to certain people. So I'm just going to ask you this. I want to ask you, what do you believe is the meaning of life for you and the human population? What do you think the meaning of life is? Why are we here? Why do you think we're here?
Wow, that's a phenomenal question. What is the meaning of life? To love, to live, to learn, to embrace every moment. Life is far too short for every one of us, and I think it's about living each day as best as you can to be the best that you can. We are all very lucky in this world that we will always have each other, whether that sometimes seems quite distant, quite alien. There's always someone that wants to help you, and there's always someone that is there for you, and you've just got to find that person. And I suppose life is about building those networks, building that place where you can thrive and you can achieve anything you want to achieve. Having worked with others, not just those with mental health issues, but young people particularly who perhaps find themselves homeless, through drugs and alcohol or domestic violence or behavioural issues, being expelled from school, the list goes on, you name it. I truly believe that there is power in every person. And we've got to find that power, and we've got to find that skill, that talent, that purpose, and that identity, that belonging to allow everybody to do what they need to do in life. And sometimes we don't know what that is, but I will dig deep with everybody to ensure that they find something that makes them feel like life is worth living. And I think that's, I think if I was to describe what life is about, and what is what is life's reason, it would probably take me a few days to tell you in full what I felt life was. But I guess in a snapshot, what I've just said is the best I could probably do right now. But everybody on this planet has greatness, and we have to find that greatness and allow everybody to be the best that they can be, regardless of the situation that we're in.
Now, also, I often ask myself, is it possible to live a life fully happy, not necessarily conflicted by worries within your life? And I think following the stuff like you said now, picking up a hobby, going into a profession where you feel fully passionate about, is the closest point to living a life full of happiness, I believe. And having that sense of belonging, like you explained, is what can lead to a positive life mentally.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what people fail to see, and it's not their fault, it's just education, it's just understanding of what belonging and identity truly mean. But we all have a belonging to something or someone. We all have an identity and a purpose to something or someone. But it often goes amiss, and it often goes overlooked. And when we don't have that purpose or that identity or that belonging, life can be really tough, because we are born to have a purpose and to have a belonging to something that just allows our cogs to tick along nicely, just allows our life to feel like it's got something in it that's worth hanging on to. We can have a number of belongings and a number of identities within this world, to certain people in our family, friends group, your job. For me, the gym is a belonging, it's a purpose, it's a reason, it's an everyday thing that I couldn't be without. But you're absolutely right. Life can be difficult if we don't have those things. I've had moments in my life where I felt like all of those things weren't there, and when all of those things just kind of disappeared, they were still there, but mentally I convinced myself, or I felt like they'd gone, they disappeared, and that was hard. And I know many people who can relate to that.
Talking about that sense of belonging in terms of Aston Villa, which is what my channel brands itself as, the total villain. In terms of that sense of belonging, I felt that during the pandemic, I've really been able to evaluate my true values in terms of life in general and football, and why I really did support Aston Villa. And the whole experience, I think we've all come as a fan base to really appreciate that football isn't the same without fans. That whole experience is what makes football. So talking about that sense of belonging, when you first supported Aston Villa and you support Aston Villa till the present day, why do you feel so connected to the fan base? Why do you feel so connected to Aston
Villa? It's a strange one for me, Liam, because I should have been a West Ham fan, really. Oh, right. Because all my family are West Ham fans, or particularly my dad's side. They're all West Ham fans, and I only saw support Villa because of my granddad's links to Birmingham as a child. So it's kind of skipped a generation, and I just fell in love with Aston Villa. I think at the time it was very much about the players that I was watching when I first got into Villa, and I just wouldn't want to support any other club. I love the community that surrounds Aston Villa. I love the people that I've got to know through Aston Villa Football Club. I've made some great friends through the Villa community who I hold dear, close to me. Dan Bardell is one of them. There's many others that I talk to on a day-to-day basis on Twitter that I've just, I would call family, football family, and they are very much those people to me. So I think there's this aura around Aston Villa. It seems to be a a strong community of fans, a strong community of people that just want to do good in the world, particularly from the behind the scenes side of things. You know, there's the foundation that I'm heavily involved with on a number of things at the moment, particularly on the mental health side. I'm an ambassador for Villains Together, you know, the diversity and equality group. You know, and yeah, I'm magnetized to several things that orientate around Aston Villa Football Club, and I've just always loved all of that. You know, I'm a great believer in people are the power, like I said before, and without the people, without the fan base, I don't think a club is anything. You know, because you know, it was the people that created football in the first instance, many moons ago. You know, it was the people that created that football club. It was the people that created that vibe, that community, that family, that presence in the country. And I think we've got to stick by that. We've got to stay strong. We've got to stand strong near that. You know, this whole elite Super League thing was absolutely nonsense. You know, football clubs being torn away from fan bases for money and greed and foreign impetus and goals and visions that never aligned with fan bases across the country. And I'm so proud of the Villa community and the Villa hierarchy to step away from that and say, no, you know, that's not what we're about. It's not who we are. We are nothing without the fans. And they're absolutely right.
And I personally believe it's fascinating to gain insight into how your mind works. And for me, as a 16-year-old just going through school, I like to read up on different individuals and see how their mind works and take the strengths into my life in order to become a better individual. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Mate, not a problem at all. You've been great. And I just want to say very quickly, you are very good at what you do, mate. And for such a young age, I think you've got a hell of a lot of potential. And I wish you all the very best. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, mate. You too. I wish you the best too, mate, because that's the whole thing. You talk about the sense of a community within Aston Villa Football Club, and through these different channels and speaking to you, Dan, Max, etc., just gaining that whole insight into how their mind works, because everyone's different in a certain way, but that passion and that support for Aston Villa is what keeps us alike. And I can't wait to go back to Villa Park. I can't wait to watch Villa in the flesh and just see the boys play again, because it'll be so good, won't it?
Yeah, can't wait, mate. I can't wait. It'll be great. And you know, it's exciting times. We've got a lot to look forward to. Just stay grounded, feet on the ground, and allow the process to happen. You know, there's a lot of good work going on behind the scenes and on the field, and both of those combined together will create an incredible Aston Villa. And we just got to allow that to happen and not wish it all too soon.
Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, stay safe, stay well, and up the Villa.
I keep being too caught up by all my demons.